Yeah, Ohio State is now having to look at not only replacing a ton of pieces on the field after claiming the program's 9th national championship. Not only are they going to have to replace their defensive coordinator after losing Jim Knowles to Penn State, they are now going to be replacing their offensive coordinator as well, as Chip Kelly is back to the NFL, this time to be Pete Carroll's offensive coordinator with the Las Vegas Raiders. According to reports, $6 million for Chip Kelly, making him the highest paid coordinator in the league. That is a lot of investment from the ownership on the Las Vegas side, which clearly speaks to the win now attitude of everyone in that division, as everybody is trying to take down the Kansas City Chiefs. But our concern is about the Buckeyes side. Danny, were you surprised? Because we talked about Houston, Jacksonville. We had mentioned it, and then certainly tried to weigh Chip Kelly's own motivations. Is this just like a highest bidder wins, or does this come as a little bit more of either a stylistic or an interesting fit along the way?
So to me, the thing that's surprising is the amount that he got. Did you guys see what he got? $6 million a year to be an offensive coordinator in the NFL. That to me makes it no brainer. You take that gig all day long. It kind of makes it feel like it could be a potential, not head coach in waiting, but Pete Carroll is 73. Like he's getting up there. So yeah, I'm not that surprised at all about it. And then when you hear Ryan Day talk about it, I saw him with Joel Klatt. I guess he had him on like the day this news came out. So Ryan Day was talking about it. And he was like, when I asked Chip to come here, he kind of sounded like he knew this was the end game. Like that Chip wanted to get back to the NFL, and it happened sooner probably than they even thought it was possible. So if he thought that Chip Kelly's goal was get back to the NFL, which it does seem like, then I think everybody wins here.
He won a title.
Was like, great. Like you win a national title, go ahead.
Chip probably won't win many games with the Raiders in that division, considering their roster.
Considering their quarterback.
That's what I'm saying.
Or lack thereof.
I'm excited to see him with Brock Bowers, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that could be pretty nice.
Do they draft Will Howard in like the 3rd or 4th round?
Oh, no, they draft Travion Henderson.
Yeah.
He'll take Henderson higher than anybody else. And then he's going to be an absolute monster in that offense. So what's it? Ryan Day hands off the play calling duties. Now Ryan Day just takes it back. Do we think that there is a splashy offensive coordinator hire, or do you think that he is just going to mainly restructure the staff and keep this thing in-house?
So I thought Dave over at Bucknuts had a pretty nice hot board this morning. He came up with Brian Hartline's listed first. I don't know if that's necessarily has to be it. This is going to be interesting because I think the hire of Chip Kelly for Ryan Day was probably an important one if you ask people around the program, because it allowed him to focus on being more of a head coach and less kind of nose in the playbook. Now, does he feel like he always has to do that, or was this a special year? I don't think he's going to go back to calling plays, but I guess he could. But like Hartline, they've had chances to promote Hartline to the play caller before and have not done so. Now, I don't know if that was just kind of mutually agreed upon. Hey, he's only 38. Like he hasn't called plays before like this. Maybe he just needs to learn under somebody a little bit more. Or if they just like him more as a receivers coach, developer, receivers, and recruiter, which is super valuable.
He's
obviously,
great.
if you watch the national title game and if you watch the first round of the NFL draft, he does seem to do that, really well. But if he gets passed over this time for it, I think maybe that's worth reading into. Now, maybe they bring in somebody else as well. I thought Dave had an interesting look here with Kevin Wilson, who Day has worked with before over at Bucknuts. Jason Candle always gets mentioned as well by seeming like for every single possible job. I guess he's from Ohio. He played at Mount Union. I don't know that he has any. I think he was in the mix for it last time, but didn't get it when they hired Bill O'Brien. And when Bill O'Brien left, they also didn't go to Jason Candle. Tommy Reese is mentioned. I think if I'm an Ohio State fan, I'm probably not happy about that if that's who they hire. So I don't know. Do you think maybe a Brian Hartline / Kevin Wilson collab here makes some sense, or maybe just Hartline and a Day collab? What do you guys think?
Is it? Oh, sorry, Tom. Go ahead.
I think you return fire. What did Penn State just do to you last week?
Oh,
Do that to them.
Ooh.
Go get Kodal Nicky. Offer him $6 million, just like Chip got.
With Hartline, do you think there's a chance he just doesn't want to be a head or a play caller?
No.
Didn't they try him though for a little bit? Like, wasn't he reportedly calling plays for a few games before Day took it back over?
I think I remember hearing that at some
And
point.
they never really.
So, but like Hartline wants to be a head coach, right?
I would imagine that's his goal at some point. Yeah.
But clearly, there's an issue with the play calling, right? Is it because he's been there a long time? We're at a point where it's kind of past like, oh, he's still not comfortable with the playbook or whatever reasons there may be. That's why at some point, do you worry about him going somewhere else just to become a play caller?
well, I think it's only if he feels like he needs to go somewhere else to get the experience. Because Ohio State is not really a learn-on-the-job type place, I think, given the money they spend, right? That's kind of why I had thrown out like maybe him and Wilson collab or something like that to work together there, or maybe just Dave feels like he's ready.
Well, all right. To build on your
Or do you just keep coaching the best position group in the country and just let your stock rise and then go be a head coach and you skip play calling altogether? Because I don't know why it's a prerequisite that you have to call plays and be a coordinator before you become the head coach. We give coaches, I don't say we, but a lot of people give head coaches a hard time. Oh, he's calling the plays. He can't call the plays and be the head coach. And like if you're Brian Hartline, maybe you're just sitting there thinking, all right, I'm making good money. I got a great setup. I'm just going to every year I'll be in the market and I'll wait for the perfect job to come around and I don't have to worry about calling plays.
Little bit of context for Bud's suggestion on the collab. Kevin Wilson, offensive coordinator for Ohio State from 17 to 22. For that entire time, Brian Hartline was on the staff, and for all but one of those years, first year he's quality control. All the rest of those years, he's the wide receiver coach. He does not get that co-offensive coordinator type role until after Kevin Wilson leaves. And so they have not yet had a shared title at all, but could it absolutely work out based on the success that they had from working on the same offensive staff from 2017 to 2022? Yeah, 100%. If you wanted to sell that, especially with the Kevin Wilson, more experienced, Brian Hartline, who still, again, first year on staff was 2017. We are not that deep. A decade ago, he was still in the NFL. So he is still very much like building out his resume in terms of what he can be. Danny, I don't know if he would even be to a point where you would say, oh, I don't ever want to call plays. He's still young, still trying to figure out what he would do. And I would imagine as a competitor, you'd always like a shot, you'd always like a crack at it. So I can definitely see that along the way.
I mean, I'm looking for Brian Hartline career earnings. He got a 5-year, $30 million contract in 2013 with the Dolphins. He got a 2-year $6 with the Browns, and then he had an original deal which is the rookie deal, I assume, for $2 and a quarter. So, I mean,
plus the tattoos,
right? Like, yeah.
Plus whatever Tressel got him.
I mean, this guy probably grossed before you pay your agent and the government, whatnot. Like he probably grossed very conservatively here, 25 from the NFL. I mean, like the contract terms were call it 31, 6, and 2, right? So, I mean, that's basically like 39. Let's say he grossed 25. Your take home from that is chop it in half, right? Like just call it 12. Like most of these assistant coaches out there did not take home $12 million from the NFL after taxes and paying your agent. So maybe he has the ability to be really picky here.
That's what I think.
Yeah. Just hang.
Yeah. And I mean, if you watch if you know your strengths, I mean, some guys are just not great play callers. He might be awesome. He might be the next great offensive mind. But if you look at what happened to Eric Bieniemy, look at what happened to him once he got away from Andy Reid, once he got away from Patrick Mahomes. His stock has just gone straight this way. So I think if you're Brian Hartline,
he just got a job.
That is true.
He's running backs coach for the Chicago Bears.
Main or assistant running back coach?
Main. He's in charge of the running backs. I will like going back to your point though earlier, but like optics wise, Hartline was the official offensive coordinator in 23. Chip comes in, he becomes the co-offensive coordinator. If you hire somebody new to be the offensive coordinator and you kind of dock his title again, I don't know, it could just cause some weird kind of issues. I would imagine that no matter what they do, Hartline will still be the co-OC, whether or not he's the main one or not. At minimum, he'll be co. So, which I think that could make it more difficult to really go get a big name.
Like 2 hours before the show got started, Jim popped in the tailgate and he suggested Will Stein.
Okay, are you leaving Oregon for Ohio State? I don't think so.
That's.
And I'm not saying Ohio State's not better because I think they are. I mean, they just won the national title, but my head coach at Oregon is a defensive guy. I basically run the offensive show with the Ducks.
If Ryan Day is your head coach, then you're not dealing
Correct.
with the same dynamics there. Yeah.
I mean, maybe you would love to collaborate. Like Ryan Day, I think is a really good offensive coach.
Hold on though. I will say that one of the reasons Jim Knowles left for Penn State was what? And Ryan Day was an offensive-minded head coach, and he wasn't able to do what?
Run his own defense.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
If they were to do the back the Brinks truck up, all right. So you've got the Dave Biddle, hot board. What was the splashiest name there? Because I gotta say that you put Brian Hartline, you put Kevin Wilson, man, you put Jason Candle. That is sensible, and I don't want sensible. Not in this era. No, I want to hear like what is the most reckless back the Brinks truck up? We are going to go poach your guy. Is it Tom's suggestion of Andy Cody?
Yeah, it's definitely Tom's suggestion. Then you got
that's on there, by the way.
Is it on there? Go Dave.
This is being updated live. Dave over at Bucknuts, which you guys should definitely check out if you're an Ohio State fan, or just following that story. He published this 40 minutes ago, but he's updating it. So Kodal Nicky, here's an interesting one. A guy who I think is fairly well respected as offensive coach, recently available, probably pretty cheap. Neil Brown.
Ooh.
Guy did a hell of a job at Troy.
Yep.
Nobody's won at West Virginia since they joined the Big 12. I don't really hold that against him that much.
I got one for
you. Joe Moorhead is on there.
Yeah.
What if he goes the same route he went with Chip?
NFL?
Finds a current head coach who may be kind of on the hot seat, maybe kind of looking to restart the clock a little bit. What if he heads on down to College Park and says, "Hey, Locks, you want to call plays for me at Ohio State?"
For like
$3 million a year. Or whatever.
Yeah.
We'll sign a new contract because I don't know, like Maryland, they went last year? Let's see. They were 4-8, 1-8 in the conference. Just things seem to be going the wrong direction there.
Wouldn't be
one of my favorite recurring bits is all of our Georgia fans trying to pawn off Mike Bobo.
Yeah. Are you guys surprised? I mean, I guess we shouldn't be surprised, but losing both coordinators, losing your quarterback, losing probably what will be the most players drafted in the NFL.
Your offensive line coach. Yep.
Offensive line coach Fry's gone, and they're still favored. They're the preseason odds-on favorite to win the national championship.
Yeah, it's not the same thing as Michigan last year, but there are definitely kind of echoes of it where you kind of went all in on the season and then you accomplished your goal. So everybody just kind of decided, all right, time to move on. And you do wonder if there will be some kind of drop off next year.
I think there definitely will be some drop off. The question for me is more like who should be the favorite? I mean, there are
which I think is great. No one should. This is great because I think there's a lot of teams that are in this conversation.
Yeah, I mean, like I think there is a line you can kind of draw where you say, this team should not be the favorite to win the national title. You can make an argument for Oregon, but Texas, probably Georgia, just because how well they recruit line of scrimmage, Penn State. I think Notre Dame has a lot coming back on the offensive line, and the receivers are going to get better. So if you want to tell me Notre Dame number one, sure. That's probably where the line gets drawn. After that, it's like, if you want to sell me Ole Miss, LSU, Bama, Tennessee, Clemson, Michigan, Texas A&M, Miami, you really got to sell me for them to be number one. But there are in my mind, 6 teams, 7 teams that you could make a non kind of 6 teams. I think you can make a non-insane person argument to be number 1 to start the year.
And the prices kind of indicate that.
Yeah.
In the day after the national championship game, Ohio State, sort of in those way too early boards, are opening up at like plus 450, and they are still at the top of the board. But at FanDuel Sportsbook, where you can make every moment more, it's plus 600. So it's like 600, 650, 650, 700, 800. So is Ohio State the preseason favorite? Yes, but not by a margin that I would consider so significant to say that they are the runaway, undisputed, team to beat heading into next season. They're just happen to be at the top of the board right now. That is a competitive group in the eyes of the odds makers, and clearly for us here too. Any other final thoughts on the Buckeyes?
Yeah. So a lot of Ohio State fans have been unhappy with the offensive line recruiting under Justin Fry. So losing Chip, losing Fry. First of all, I do think the guy did a pretty damn good job coaching this year when they lost the best center in the country and then an offensive tackle who I was listening to some draft stuff over the weekend. If he had stayed healthy, I do think the kid, the San Diego State transfer who was a second year there, Simmons, I think, their left tackle. They said if he had stayed healthy, he would have likely been in the conversation to be the top left tackle taken in the draft. So you lose the best center in the country, you lose maybe the best left tackle, and you still win the national title, moving the pieces around. I think Fry did a nice job coaching them up this year. Clearly, like he and Kelly worked well together. I know that Fry and Kelly had a pretty strong relationship. So it's not entirely surprising that when Kelly goes, he also goes. And I think there is some chance that Ohio State's offensive line recruiting might actually improve with this move. That's been a constant kind of just sensitive subject there in Columbus.
Yeah, Dave in the tailgate saying Justin Fry's departure not exactly drawing tears in Columbus.
So. I mean, look, like it's not easy to coach offensive line. I don't think they were poorly coached. Michigan got him pretty bad, but that's like 2 top 100 picks at D tackle, and
they had 24 different combinations in like an 8-game stretch, and like
they're a little too worried about securing first level, and
Also, like you could say that Justin Fry didn't do a good job, and you can be kind of happy to see him go. But the progress and growth that offensive line showed in the college football playoff as they started getting more familiarity with each other and like chemistry, I think that shows you had a pretty good offensive line coach.